Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ion Canon podcast, your home for in-depth discussion on the lore, the narrative, and the big ideas of the galaxy far, far away. My name is Matthew. I'm coming to you from Underworld North Studios in Toronto. And as always, I'm joined from across the continent by your friend and mine, Mr. Joel Davis. Joel, as you wipe your screen there, your camera there, how are you doing this week?
I'm good. I guess I saw a little schmud on it. No, I'm doing well. Doing well. It's getting darker.
Yep. Oh, and your mic just got disconnected.
Here means. Over here. Hello.
There we go.
Test,
there
test,
we go.
test. We're back.
Yep. Yeah.
And like I said, 5 o'clock here means now it's gonna get pitch dark really soon.
Yeah, that was so weird when I was down there. It was getting by like 7 or 8 or something in July. That's right, because
is it not like that in Canada where you?
Not in the summer. No, in the summer it stays light out, and I mean the further north, it's because they're so much further south. And then the summer, yeah, it's still about 7 or 8. Now it's dark, but that's
okay.
It's almost October. Yikes. Anyways, we'll admit it. Canon contradictions, they can sometimes be hard to swallow. Of course, screen stories have overwritten details from paper a few times, but and we'll get into maybe the most famous example recently, at least, being Caleb Dume's experience of Order 66 in the opening months of the Bad Batch. What about when one paper story seems to contradict another? Like the apparent discrepancies between Alex Segura's Battle of Jakku and Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy. How much do these inconsistencies really matter? How has our thinking and feeling about them evolved in the nearly 4 years that we've done this podcast? So this week, we're going to catch up on that Great Canon Continuity debate and dive back in. Yeah, it's been almost 4 years, right? January 2022. There we go.
Wow.
Coming up on 2026. Be 2 Winter Olympics and 2 World Cups. There we go. That's how I measure time.
And 2 administrations.
Hopefully 2 administrations. Hopefully get to a third. A few celebrations. How many? No, yeah, 2 celebrations. Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Anyways,
I think 3. It'd be 3, right? No.
Well,
no,
yeah, London. No, yeah, London.
Yeah. No, next year's gonna be 3. That's right. Because we did Orange County, then London. I know, Japan.
Yeah, so it'll be 3. Wow. Yeah. Man. We'll have to mark something special in January for that. Yeah. That'll be fun. Fun times. All right, let's get to the plugs. There we go. So episode could be dedicated to Endor. Maybe, I don't know about that. There you go. How's it going, Daisy? Good to see you there. Let's get to the plugs. You can follow us on Blue Sky at Ion Canon, ioncanon.biscuit.social, and then everywhere else we're letting you just follow the flagship. Ben really has a lot nailed down there, including comic news and book news and a lot of things. So at the SW on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, they're also on Blue Sky, but we're on Blue Sky, so follow us as well. If audio is more your speed, then whenever we're done, every week when we're done the recording, I will throw this up onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I did learn this is also already on YouTube podcasts because it's on YouTube. So they've been able to integrate audio and video a lot better now. So do check that out as well if you so desire. Of course, we are proudly part of the Star Wars Underworld podcast network. Here on the Underworld YouTube channel, we have YouTube memberships and we got super chats. So if you do chat with us, as you saw, we'll get to it as best we can and kind of the flow of conversation. If you super chat us, we'll get to it immediately. I will interrupt Joel. I'll interrupt myself. Joel interrupt me.
Yes.
To get the super chat. We're grateful for any support you can provide to the channel and the network. Also, we're on the Discord server, Star Wars Underworld Discord server. Down in the description below, you can find a minty fresh link that will get you in there. We're chatting about Joel chatting about what he's about to go into in a few minutes, but chatting about Mando and Grogu, chatting about probably Visions trailer. Oh yeah, we should talk about it.
Let's do that too.
We'll do that.
Screen.
Yes, we'll do it. We'll do it. Column model there. The Visions trailer, different things. All going on. And different comic book things, different novel things, collecting, all sorts of stuff. So check that out. And also any events recently, any events coming up, Joel?
This week we're going to be doing two things. This Wednesday we'll be having our traditional game night, where we'll do some Fortnite, maybe some Marvel Rivals, Minecraft, whatever we want. That'll be 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then make sure to check. There's no comics for me to come on to, so I'm
Right.
free that day to post it. So hooray!
Mhm.
You froze there for like half a second. Yeah, you're gone. Um,
That's
and
all right.
then Wednesday we'll be continuing our 3-shot D&D session hosted by Jesse.
Mhm.
That's right, we do D&D at the channel now. So if you like D&D and you want to do D&D stuff, host be a DM, let us know. Come join our little group. We have a roster of players who will be happy to join you. So
Mhm.
yeah, very exciting.
There you go. So that's Wednesday. What days are those? Just clarifying.
Wednesday is game night regular. Friday
Okay.
is D&D night.
Okay. What are you guys playing Wednesday?
Wednesday, well, we know Wednesday is just regular game night, so
Okay.
that means like PlayStation
Fortnite or
games, Twitch games, not Twitch
yeah.
games, Switch games,
Mhm.
anything online, just
Yeah.
regular fun stuff. We normally decide the day of.
Sure. Fair enough. Fun times, fun times. Good hangs, good chills. And if if you have that on, and have that on, if you like to have a podcast on in the background while you're gaming, or if you just want to listen, you read the comics and you want to hear Chris Abbott and I talk about the comic books the same time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific this Wednesday. Chris Abbott and I are going to talk about ongoing number 6. And I'm gonna finally start paying attention to these solicits because they're basically helping us figure out what's going on in this era of comics because we don't quite know. And so we'll talk about the Marvel's December solicits, what's on there for Star Wars, what isn't on there for Star Wars. So yeah, check that out. Also this Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific, and of course, it'll be up here on YouTube and on on Spotify and Apple as well. Lastly, please do follow the Tractor Beam on Blue Sky. Trying to get that channel up and running, that account up and running. I can use words, account up and running. So yeah, give that a look and give that a follow, and yeah, come enjoy the games night or the comics podcast or both as you wish. There you go. Looking forward to that. All right. Uh, we'll start with our week in Star Wars. Joe, I'll let you do while I do a little bit in the notes. So yeah, I'll let you take it away. What do you got for in week of Star Wars this week?
Yeah, so I came down a rabbit hole just by accident today. Although I noticed
Is
this
it ever by accident, Joel?
in this case it was because it started
Okay.
out very small than I intended. Um,
Fair.
where I was just looking at the numbers on the Star Wars YouTube channel. Now,
Mhm.
caveat, sometimes things perform differently. Some things, on YouTube than say TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or Threads or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, at work on social media, we notice the sort of thing where certain videos we post actually do better on a different platform.
Yes.
Um,
That's over
than
the Culture Slate fandom fam there.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we notice from time to time. It
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna, but I decided, you know what? Let's just use these numbers as like a little microcosm of Star Wars right now.
Mhm.
Why not? Right? Just to see if we can see anything. And so,
Mhm.
1 week. Yeah, it's been a week,
Yeah.
right? It came out this Monday. Yeah,
Came
one
out
week.
a week today. Yeah.
Yeah, 1 week into Mando and Grogu trailer, more or less, it has 9 million views. That's right, 9 million views for Mando and Grogu.
And this is on the Star Wars YouTube channel. Just
Yeah,
clarifying.
this is the Star Wars YouTube channel, just the YouTube
Mhm.
channel, nothing
Mhm.
else.
Yeah.
So Visions, which came out 3 days ago, 2 days
Yeah. I
ago,
think Thursday.
Thursday. So
Yeah.
more or less has up to around. I rounded the numbers at this point.
Sure.
300,000 views. And I'm counting both the dub and the sub, because the dub I think has
Hmm.
like 200,000. The sub is 90. It might be reversed. I don't remember, but because they
Mhm.
put a dub and a sub
Yeah.
trailer. But one has like 200,000. The other has like 90,000. But combined
Sure.
together, 300,000. Um,
Mhm.
so when I look at those, that tells me that okay, as much as I think me as Star Wars fans want to believe that all Star Wars is equal, that's certainly not the case, and live action dominates everything.
Yeah.
I think we all knew that. I even double checked to see like what Bad Batch and Rebels got in its runs, and they only hit up to like the 2 million, 3 million mark at
Mhm.
best. Clone Wars is the exception. There's the MacGuffin where that got 8 million views.
Yeah.
So that's like the one animated thing that's like the exception to that rule.
Mhm.
But nothing else animated has hit
Yeah.
that height. So I decided to do that. Then I decided, because I'm a crazy person, to look at the other live action shows.
Mhm.
And these are obviously they're shows, but I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna treat live action as just a catch all, more or less the same, probably.
Alright.
Kind of
Alright.
kind of
Huh.
kind of thing. And I probably
Mhm.
was correct because the views themselves are not that different, but there are certainly you can tell some things. So
Mhm.
Skeleton Crew, its trailer, I think it was the final trailer too, got 5.1 million views. Andor's trailers got around 7.4 million. Same with Acolyte. Both Acolyte's trailers got around the 7 million range. Ahsoka's trailers I was surprised by.
Mm.
Its teaser got 9.8 million. Its final trailer got 16 million. Um, that was pretty good. And then the
Mhm.
Kenobi teaser trailer, which I think is the final one. I think it was the final one. Or no, it's not. I mean, the teaser, the first one got
Mhm.
19 million views. So that was
Yeah.
the high mark. Actually, no, that's not the high mark. Mando season 1 and 2 got pretty high
Sure.
views. And then I kind of went back even further, and then stuff like Force Awakens teaser and final trailer got like 111 million views.
Yeah. That was great.
Um,
Yeah.
but I kind of don't even count those because that was just such a different time.
Mhm.
And I think we're kind of in a kind of a new average right now. But
Mm.
so yeah, I just my lessons, my kind of analysis, my data
Mhm.
analysis here is obviously live action is king when it comes to Star Wars. Um, Mando and Grogu definitely, and obviously this is just a week. The other numbers are like
Mhm.
for like years, 2 years total at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, definitely Mandalorian Grogu gets high numbers. Let's see when we get as long out as some of these other trailers how much it gets.
Mhm.
Um, and I was surprised that Ahsoka did pretty well. Was not surprised by Kenobi because I've always heard Kenobi in terms of numbers was always pretty
Mhm.
high, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are just some numbers I was looking up. Anything that stands out to you? Anything I've written down or this
Yeah.
about the data?
Well, I mean, it's interesting you're surprised that Ahsoka did well when Clone Wars did so well. I mean, Clone Wars is this weird exception where it verges into live action kind of not quality, but in terms of, I mean, I love it as obviously, but the thing is the quality. I'm wearing the shirt, the quality almost of a live action show in some ways. But um, if Clone Wars did great, then it makes sense that Ahsoka would do great because people are it's continuing the story there in some ways. Obviously, it's also continuing Rebels. So that I'm curious, but why you're surprised about Ahsoka doing so well?
I
In
didn't
terms,
expect because I thought actually because it's so connected to Clone Wars, I just
yeah,
still
well,
think that most people probably did not watch Clone Wars.
that's maybe true. Yeah. Um,
Uh,
so that I will say, you did the throwaway comment about Force Awakens doing
mhm,
111 million or something, and then and yeah, it's a different era, it's a different time. But the one thing going for that Mando and Grogu trailer is it brought me back to that time. This is not a show; it's a film,
right.
and this is the real question. Maybe going forward is will there be some separation between well, it's not a question. We know this is going to be true. There's going to be separation between the say market penetration of the film
Mhm,
versus the market penetration of a show on a streaming service that not everyone is signed up for, and less people now than 2 weeks ago. But
mhm.
we've been over that. Um, so yeah, it doesn't entirely surprise me. What be curious. I mean, it's true. This isn't exactly like you acknowledge. This isn't really a scientific study. It's just an interesting curiosity that it's already done better than in the first week. It's almost done as well in the first week as that first Ahsoka trailer did. And so
Pretty much, and the
yeah.
Ahsoka the teaser number was like a full
Mhm.
year. So like
Mhm.
it beat that in a week.
Yeah, and also people are hungry for live action Star Wars. People are hungry for new stars. I mean, I'll be curious to know what the Small Shadow Lord trailer does. If
I
that does well because people are hungry, whenever that comes out. So
I'm curious about that one too, but I have a different reason for that
mhm.
because Maul is a well-known live
Yeah,
action character, and
true.
I kind of have like this. I've always had this sneaking suspicion, and Kenobi kind of proves my point.
Mhm.
Ahsoka, I guess, is kind of weirdly the exception to that rule. Um, Although not by much because Kenobi still beat it. If you put something more tied into the movies,
Yeah,
especially like a legacy character like Kenobi at that point,
yeah.
you're probably going to get a little bit more. It's sort of like put Darth Vader on a comic. That comic's got a baseline already.
Or Luke
Uh,
Skywalker on the cover,
exactly.
even if he isn't in the comic.
Pretty much, right?
Yeah,
So it's like you kind of always you have a bit of a boost when it comes
yeah.
to very mainstream characters.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'd be kind
Yeah,
of curious to like compared to Bad Batch and Rebels, which were like animated shows about new characters.
true.
Maul Shadow Lord's a animated show about a character who's pretty well known at this point.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
even if
since 1999,
yeah, so I'll be
Mhm.
curious about that. Um, what was I gonna say? Force Awakens trailers
Yeah.
definitely seems like the biggest one. I was looking up Rogue One. It's like
Oh yeah.
it got like 40 and 50 million, but Force Awakens still got
Mhm.
111 million. I
Yeah.
didn't look up the other sequel trilogy ones because I stopped at some point. I wish I
Mhm.
did, but
There's still time.
maybe and
If
maybe
anyone's watching who wants to go quickly, don't leave. Have this on, but then also go check
oh wow.
the Last
So
Jedi trilogy.
both the
Yeah.
teaser and the official like 48.5 million, 58 million.
Yeah.
And then Rise of Skywalker is like that trailer, 51,037,000. So Force Awakens is an outlier,
Yeah.
but I'm
Well,
not surprised because Episode
but
7 was so wanted for so damn long.
exactly. I mean, it's why again the same. My point with Mendo and Grogu,
Mhm,
we're getting a live action film,
mhm.
uh, and we haven't had a live action anything in a few months. But we're getting a live action film next year, and
Right.
so yeah, it's a similar kind of people are hungry for that, not to the same extent that they were hungry for Force Awakens, but in a similar way.
I don't think anything can beat Force Awakens. I think that was too unique
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
time.
exactly. It was just this Star Wars is back in theaters. But that's my
It's not
point.
just Star Wars is back in theaters. It's like, oh my god,
Star
Star
Wars
Wars
is
is
back.
back in. Whereas
Star Wars is
I,
back at all. Period. Is
yeah,
yeah,
whereas with Mando and Grogu, I feel like
yeah,
I think we all deep down knew it would happen eventually because
yeah.
money talks. It's just, but
Mhm,
with Force Awakens, it was like, oh my god, we never thought this would happen. We thought George was
yeah.
done, and we got Star Wars was done, and blah 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 blah.
Right.
No,
Yeah. So yeah. So that I mean that will account for the difference, but I do think the similarity again is oh yeah, the film is coming out. We're excited. So yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, not terribly surprised. Not surprised at all by Kenobi.
hmm
Like you said, you put you know a beloved character
hmm
and Ewan
and
McGregor's
beloved
Kenobi.
actor.
And Ewan McGregor, right. I mean, this year the grand celebration of Revenge of the Sith at 20.
hmm
I am not alone in upholding that film as high as I do at the top. Not alone, and those who don't still,
They still like
you know,
you and McGregor. I think he's like one of the more
well,
universally
or
praised.
I mean, people will universally say Revenge of the Sith is a great film. Maybe not universally, but not universally, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
you're the resident sequelist. You still will agree that Revenge of the Sith is a pretty good film.
of course.
So, so yeah, that accounts for that. So all this kind of things of anticipation, why people want to click on it. I mean, there's other things about algorithms and platforms. Although Star Wars still isn't on Blue Sky. That's what those links are. People who have, I mean, the YouTube algorithm and Disney saying, "Hey Google, want to pump this out?" I'm sure they had some conversations there. My phone literally just heard me say, "Hey Google."
Right.
It's the equivalent of Siri. So yeah, it makes sense. But Yeah, I'll. Well, I mean, I am curious because the thing I was curious about in terms of just content is what the vertical format of the trailer is. Kind of my day job. My day job, my colleagues talk about. Okay, we have the wide video, but we also have a vertical video for Instagram and TikTok. How I'm curious how those did, and it's interesting how they didn't necessarily take a chunk out of this number. It might have helped it. I don't know.
I would not know. I mean, this is just. I mean, I don't know what the like when you combine this with Facebook and TikTok. This is what the total is.
Yeah.
I will say though, most StarWars.com, not Star Wars YouTube videos, at
Hmm.
best get 100,000. I mean, we got a couple 300,000 for some Andor stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but at best, it's like it only gets like 10,000, sometimes 40,000.
Yeah.
The Lego trailer got almost 500,000 views, which
Hmm.
again is not that much compared to the other ones we've talked
Right.
about. So that doesn't hit the millions. I'm kind of not surprised. Um, but yeah, the live action stuff hits the millions.
Hmm.
The anime stuff hits 1 million at best.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the other stuff kind of gets into the tens of thousands at best.
Yeah. I mean, again, it also depends on how much they push it out and everything around this marketing campaigns for these things. So
Right.
there's that. Very curious to know what the folks at Lucasfilm think, like the marketing professionals, what they're saying about this, saying about these numbers, and again, also Instagram, TikTok reels, how those do, and Facebook reels.
Mhm.
Um, because it's a different kind of trailer. It's the same trailer, but they had to splice it up and do different things. So because
Yeah.
how we do it. Anyway, different things I think about because of my day job and other things. So fun times, marketing, communications, etc. Um, yep. Let's you good?
You good?
Can we move on?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I got two things very quickly. Bad Batch Sanctuary. I have an hour and 36 minutes left in
Ooh.
listening to Mark the Ken Legend Thompson's legendary performance as always. Um, yeah, I'm loving it. Joel, you're a bit
Hour
further ahead of me.
45 minutes for me.
Oh, so I surpassed you. I leapfrogged you somehow.
Yeah.
I just finished chapter 39. Yeah, it's definitely. I won't say it's. I mean, Chris Abbott thinks it's the best book of 2025, which is saying something near the had Mask of Fear and Trials of the Jedi. But um, yeah, it's up there. It's. I'll say it's probably the third best. Apparently,
Okay.
there's something that happens that put it over the top for Chris. So we'll see, but definitely not one to sleep on. I'm glad I didn't sleep on it. I'm glad I went for it. Doing the Audible, which I don't usually do, but again, it was in the panel in San Diego, and Mark Thompson being like, "What did D. Bradley Baker just show up at this panel? What?" So yeah, that was a good time, and so yeah, I'm glad that definitely it's really engaging, exciting story. It's more grown up than, of course, because it's an adult novel, and that's what's interesting because the Bad Batch season 3, it's not a criticism, but it gets remembered. I think it's going to be remembered as kind of straddling the line between uh, trying to do both the kids animated show and the adult animated Clone Wars, right? So this one doesn't worry about the kids side at all.
I
It's
mean, I
just
think Bad Batch is better than Clone Wars, but that's just me.
sure. I mean, it's different. I mean, it's a more coherent story, but in the sense, I mean, I
I
love
will
Clone
say I
Wars.
do think the book did get away with a little more darker things.
Mhm.
I think you've gone past one moment where it's like, oh, okay, that's a dark moment.
Yeah. So
But
now, of course, in Bad Batch, I mean, has in the show it has the kids being locked up and cooped up. I mean, that's one of the darkest moments in all of Star Wars. So, you know, uh,
Bad Batch is
but
pretty dark, so
yeah, so that's true. But this one, yeah, it takes the time. That's the thing we say about novels, right? They can
mhm,
take the time to dig into characters
mhm.
more so maybe even than a screen series can. So, I mean, digging into Hunter's character, especially
And the
the stuff
original
with
characters
Fee and
too.
Tech. Yeah. Oh yeah. The nuclear. Yeah, those are like those are really well written, really rounded out. So yeah, definitely give it a read, give it a look. I'll mention this again. We will both have this done by next week because that's what we're talking about next week.
Yes.
So Bad Batch Sanctuary. We're
Oh,
doing a
could we
good old fashioned
do?
book review.
I know
Mm,
we don't do those a lot. I wish we did, but
Yeah, because I'm usually too slow to read, and so I don't finish it enough. But it's gonna happen, and then we'll hopefully have some other reviews coming down the pipe. Hopefully, those will happen more frequently. There, I'm saying it on the internet. My second thought is a little more heady and controversial, but I've been thinking about Nemec's manifesto. I've been thinking about the real world in the last, I mean, really the last what 7-8 months, but it's not just the last 7-8 months. And
that's a
ne-
1,000 years of human history.
well, sure, yeah, the last 6, 8, 9,000 years of human history, but uh, we're in this time where Nemec can say something like, "Freedom is the pure idea. Uh, control is the unnatural thing. Control is unnatural. It takes constant effort." And I get what he's doing in there. I get it's not a philosophical treatise, it's a manifesto. He's trying to rally the troops, he's trying to inspire people. I mean, his point there is right, that just got to do your little part, and eventually the system might come down, but you don't have to be the one to actually take the shot to destroy the Death Star. You just have to lock down the communications room in the Senate chamber, just randomly. So
Randomly.
that's true. However, as we've seen, the sense of that freedom is the pure idea, and that control is the thing that takes diligence and hard work. Uh, I mean, do I want to say it's the opposite? I can see what he means, and that there are going to be folks who are going to always be angling to take advantage, but to say freedom isn't that either. It doesn't really match with reality. Freedom, the ability to, you got to be on top of the news and on top of your own motivations internally, and your own, the way you view the world, and you know, is this true? Is this right? Or is this thing I'm seeing on YouTube, and even right now, feel free to ask that, right? This thing I'm seeing on
Question us.
YouTube,
Question us
well,
always.
yes, uh, is that right? I mean, usually, the or on the news, on TV, or in your Instagram story, or on TikTok, or whatever. Is it the full story? Is it a full enough story, or is it just there to enrage me? And I've talked about this a lot, but I've gotten really disappointed by the way social media is, well, the way we've let and succumb to social media, just fueling our rage machine and making us feel powerless in the face of evil, and that is driving us to give away our power and give away our agency. um, and of course AI isn't helping with that. Deep fakes, I mean, the AI algorithm. So it takes constant vigilance to uphold the democratic order and democratic norms. It takes constant vigilance to uh, maintain a sense, not maintain a sense of it, but maintain a common reason, common sense of what is right and what is true. And yeah, Joel, you mentioned the last 1,000 years, the last 9,000 years of human history. There's a reason it always slips. The reason it always goes down is because we're climbing up this hill. And I don't think we're Sisyphus. It's not like we're constantly just doomed. I mean, in a way, maybe we are. Well, in that sense, but
I'm happy to have that opinion of we're just doomed, but that's just me.
well, so with Sisyphus, the myth I think is that he's doomed to push the stone up the hill.
Mhm.
I don't think we're doomed to push it. We are invited to push it. I mean,
Right.
this is kind of the more Aristotelian thing of, we develop the habits and the abilities to the resilience. So maybe it gets more natural over time, but it wears on us, and uh, that's the thing that can also get chipped away. So yeah, I get what Nemec is saying, but and why, but if you think about it intellectually, I don't know. I think we need constant diligence and constant effort.
I think I think human history is all. I mean, I've said this so many times, and I think in some ways Lucas actually agrees with me. I like to think he does. It's. I know Balin does. Well, I've been rewatching Ahsoka.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
it's all cycles,
Yeah.
and we've had cycles of democratization. We've had cycles
Mhm.
of enlightenment, whatever you want to consider enlightenment for sure. And then we
Mhm.
just had cycles of paranoia, suspicion, and authoritarianism.
Mhm.
You know, Renaissance times,
Mhm.
uh, the 1800s were some turbulent times of not democratization, but certainly certain countries going there. The post 20th,
Mhm.
no, not
Yeah.
I would say the post Cold War, like 1990 to maybe 2000, where it's
Yeah.
sort of like, okay, Soviet Union's gone, and the U.S. doesn't need all those weird right wing authoritarian quasi fascist dictators to crush
Yeah.
communism.
And
That's why
or McCarthy.
or McCarthy, right?
Mhm.
So well, McCarthy was already gone by then.
Mhm.
It's like people like
True.
Pinochet are like, oh, yeah, we like your energy communism, Pinochet, but you're kind of not good for our PR. Um,
Right.
some stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then and then I'm just talking about the 20th century at this point.
Yeah.
Times of crisis like the Depression, you know, the post chaos of the World War One,
Mhm.
even I would say the 2008 financial crisis.
Yeah.
Kind of slide back because like, holy shit, holy moly, my money's gone. What's going
Right.
on? Someone
Mhm.
save us. Do something. We don't care.
Right.
We give you everything. Just make it stable and normal again.
Like
Um,
bailing out the banks because they're too big to fail.
Bail out the banks. Make America great again. Do something. Or
Mhm.
it's maybe generational. It's political. It's economical. And I just think we just go through those cycles over and over and
Mm.
over and
Yeah.
over again. Sometimes we get weird new things out of it. Sometimes we just get old things.
Mhm.
And you're right. I do think that democracy, freedom is a vigilant thing. It's like democracy is not a stand on the side sport. This is why I kind of always hate the whole. Maybe not
Mm.
hate, but like I think voting isn't just. I think voting is like, in my opinion, voting is like the bare minimum. That's like the
Yeah.
lazy person's democracy, where it's
Right.
like we vote and then we never think of it again. Um, you know, real
Mhm.
democracy is going to your town halls every day and researching, and let's face it,
Mhm.
most people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Eh, or at least we or the society we have doesn't encourage it as well.
Right.
Lots of people have come up with ideas of how to make more participatory democracy. Sometimes you maybe got to be a little more harsher to get it there, but sometimes those early years you
Yeah.
gotta make people get off their butts and do
I
the
mean,
work.
yeah.
So yeah, I kind of agree with that.
I mean, even voting though, like
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's the bare minimum. But what's the voter turnout these days? 60% is nice. Australia, what is it? 90 something? Because they get a $50 fine. Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine in the United States of America? Imagine the Orange County Board of Elections saying, "Yes, $50 fine for anyone who doesn't vote."
I'd say you have to
Um,
make it like $100 or something. So I feel like people would be just
yes, in
50.
Orange
Yeah, though.
County, it would have to be more. Yeah, like for Orange County, that's still
Get
into
like a
people's
ticket
pockets.
or something, like a
Yeah,
cop ticket.
yeah,
What's the voting rate in Canada like these
it's
days?
just as bad, right? It's
Uh,
it's you know it, again because so that's the thing. I mean, yeah, people don't believe that matters, that their vote matters, and so that's why you can have Greg Abbott, Texas, and then speaking of California, Mr. Newsom trying to clap back at it with the gerrymandering and I think in Georgia as well. So and that and different ways in which Trump is taking away franchise, but uh, that's still just the bare minimum, right? That
Hmm.
gets to a point. Uh, there's everything. I mean, well, that's maybe the case in point. The reason why they go for uh, they go for voting rights and gerrymandering is because everything around elections also matters, and we have to be vigilant and diligent. And yeah, it's uh,
Although the
yeah,
great irony of what they're doing right now, and this is something not a lot of people talk about, is the Republicans now, like, kind of their base of support are the low propensity voters,
yeah,
and those are the people who like, I know Trump on the TV, so I'm gonna vote for him because I know Trump on the TV.
yeah,
But they never show up for midterms, and only presidential elections sometimes,
yeah,
where Democrats, weirdly, because our coalition now has high propensity voters who are like the uberly engaged people.
mhm,
We're in this weird place where the great irony is
mhm,
maybe low turnout elections actually help Democrats more than Republicans, and that's kind of a weird paradox
yeah,
that we might have to deal with later on in life. But that's a whole
yeah,
other conversation.
yeah. That's fascinating. Gonna be a really interesting midterm.
Oh yeah.
One of the most interesting we can remember, I think. So politics, lots of politics. There we go.
Let's see. Let's see. Oh, here's some interesting comment,
Yeah,
by the way. In our local government election here, we're seeing how many people actually do turn
I
now.
was saying there's high turnout for local elections too, eh?
I guess so.
Yeah. Um, and in most countries, they're all kind of staggered. I know in Ontario, at least, there's uh, municipal elections are the same across the province. But of course, here in Toronto, it's the most important. So why
Of
not?
course, the big cities.
Yes, fun times. All right. I think we can move on. One more thing before our main topic, very
Oh,
quickly.
right.
Uh, do have this eyes on screen Visions Volume 3 trailer. Moving on to slightly lighter topic. Um, so very quickly, yeah, it was fun and exciting. I'm trying to compare it to the Mando Grogu. It's such a different animal. I thought it had more substance, thought it had more weight. Um,
That's fair.
I I'm going to watch the dub for
Really nice.
sure. No, sorry, no,
Oh,
the opposite. I'm gonna watch
okay.
the sub
Okay. Okay.
for sure. I've always watched the sub because like the dub, it's too familiar. It's too
Or you want to
like
get
this
like
is
a
just
really, I guess, for lack of a better
yeah,
term, foreign experience.
yeah, the authentic experience sounds terrible,
Authentic
um,
experience without something nice.
but also I will say though, oddly enough, for some reason,
Mhm.
Visions. The whole point of it is well, not the whole point, but one of the points is this isn't canon, doesn't matter. These ones feel for some reason feel more rooted, feel more grounded in the world we know. Probably because the way Imperial starships descend, that Star Destroyer coming down, and the way that lightsabers and lightsaber duels happen, and the hope and the Force and the Jedi and whatnot. So I don't know. I mean that's the thing is that's always been the challenge with Visions for me is it's taking. I mean, it's the challenge in a good way and the difficult way. It's like, oh, this is a challenge. It's a good challenge to work through, but this is challenging in that it's taking images and symbols. I think about the twins, right? Like you're taking the kind of the architectural style of the empire, but I don't know what the historical context of this is, which is again that's the point in part, but also that's the fun nerdy thing about Star Wars is that it's a historical everything has historical context. So fun times. Quickly, Joel, what do you think of the Visions trailer?
Yeah, I think this time I'm gonna do the dub. I did the sub for Visions Volume 1. I also did it for Volume 2. Volume 2 was like by different countries, and I didn't want to have to go
Yeah,
like, okay, this is from Brazil, so I gotta put it in Portuguese and this is Spanish. I'm just gonna like I'll do
right.
English for all of them.
Yeah.
And also some of the voice actresses are gonna be, I'm really excited for it.
Hmm.
We've got George Takei, Karen Fukuhara is coming back for the Village Bride sequel.
Nice.
Um
I
we got
didn't hear George Takei in that. I'll have to look that up.
it was in the celebration trailer.
Okay.
He was in it, and apparently Steve Buscemi will be in it. And I love Steve
Really
Buscemi.
interesting.
So yes, we got a very star-studded cast for
Hmm.
the dub as well. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited for the
Hmm.
sequels. We're getting a sequel to
Right.
the duel and the Village Bride and the Ninth Jedi, because
Mhm.
obviously you got definitely pay attention to the Ninth Jedi, Matthew, because we're getting a whole series about that in
True.
next year as well. So that's going to be a whole, hopefully 10 episodes, maybe,
Mhm.
maybe more than 8.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. I mean, there's still gonna be some wacky stuff. Like, there's a scene of
Yeah.
a kid turning into like an X-wing transformer thing. Um,
Sure.
in a Sailor Moon like transformation anime sequence. So there's
Mhm.
still gonna be lots of wacky Star Wars
Mhm.
anime. Let's just do it for the sake of it
Yeah, why
things.
not?
So yeah, I'm excited. I love Visions.
Mhm.
I love anime, and yeah, I bring it on. I'm excited, and I'm especially excited for
Mhm.
Ninth Jedi next year.
Yeah. That's right. And the Ninth Jedi, I guess, is gonna feel even more grounded because we're getting a whole series. It's familiar already. So that'll change our way of appreciating, interpreting it. I definitely, I mean, I'm glad it's going back to just straight anime. I did like the different styles in volume 2, but yeah, this is going to be always a treat to see what they do. Daisy's trying to some more here. Um, that her municipal government is a quarter of the country, I guess, or a third. I mean, yeah, I mean that's with smaller countries, usually one or two major cities. So
Mm.
there you go. All right, I think that's we got to move on. But yeah, Visions 3. Do we know when's that coming out
I
again? That's
th-
coming out
I I
in a
think
month,
it's
right?
October. Let's see,
Yeah, that's coming out
Visions
in a month.
Polish. Yeah, October 29th.
Okay, so a month today. All right.
So a month from today, and sounds more like November, but whatever.
Yeah,
October,
whatever.
November. I think
Yeah,
they're dropping it
well,
all at once. So
yeah, that's true.
okay.
So we will have stuff to talk about here on the Ion Cannon podcast, eyes on screen. Um, all right. Speaking of stuff to talk about, Leggy,
Also,
take it
I
away.
bet you Chris Abbott's right. And after Visions, that mall trailer is probably going to drop very soon, right?
Yeah,
Like November, December. I could see it
here's
happening.
hoping.
Okay, yeah, canon contradictions. In an era of various authors, filmmakers, showrunners making films, TV, books, comic, whatever, video games, it's hard to keep track of all of it. It's really hard to
Yeah.
keep track of all of it. Something's bound to contradict. And we're here to talk about canon contradictions. Why do we
Mhm,
care? Why should we not care? And etc. etc. etc.
mhm,
So I think a lot of this stems from. I'm gonna say I think a lot of people's reaction to canon contradiction stems from this desire, and maybe it's an unhealthy desire. I don't want to call it unhealthy. That's maybe harsh,
mhm,
but this desire to view every Star Wars thing as the true representation. As we watch a movie,
mhm.
it's almost like there's someone posted this on a forum, and I actually wrote it
Right.
down just in case. What they call it? They called it the magic window, where there's this magic window, and we are like literally watching
Mhm,
historical events play out in real time through our movie screens.
mhm,
And that is the way it happened, right? That's the way it is. Instead of what this person I remember because I've reviewed them in the forums also talks about, where it's less that and more like, again, it's the fairy tale a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It
mhm.
is campfire stories. It
Right.
is it is I don't want to say legends per se. I'm looking a little bit of that too, but definitely someone's telling an event and they're telling it a very specific way.
Mhm,
Um, that tonally, visually, stylistically, it's in the galaxy, but the way they're telling it, sometimes the story might contradict something you heard somebody else say. Like, I don't know, it's
mhm,
like, if you and Dominic Matthew told me a story about
mhm,
something that happened to you in a bar on a Thursday evening in June,
mhm.
I bet you one of you will contradict the other in maybe a small way, or maybe a big way,
Yeah.
depending on what you're trying to tell me about the story,
Mhm,
right? And that's not even getting into certain point of view. That just might be like, Dominic might have seen a person wear a blue shirt. You might have seen them wearing a purple shirt. I
mhm,
don't know, maybe just the lighting at the time.
mhm,
And I think that's a big reason why we want these all things to be the same. 'Cause
mm,
I think it's maybe this weird desire for Star Wars to be so real that nothing can contradict. When at the end of the day, they're still stories. and
Mhm.
sometimes people contradict stories. I'm sure the Bible's got all sorts of contradictions.
I was gonna mention that. Go ahead.
There's actually a joke in The Simpsons
Mhm.
where Ned Flanders is like praying to God because he's been having a really rough time, and he's like trying to figure out like why all this bad stuff's happening to him. And he said like, "I did everything the Bible said. I even did the stuff that contradicts the other stuff." Um,
That's
so it's
great.
like, all right, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
So but the Bible is all canon, so it
Mhm.
all connects, but there are still contradictions. Um, and I think maybe that is the divide between wanting a mythology and wanting a history, where
Mm.
mythology, yeah, there are sequels and there's stuff the Greek god did, but there are stories that contradict what one Greek god did to another, what Zeus did that day. Where it's like a
Yeah.
history, well, there are historical contradictions depending on who you're looking at, but we try to make sure that everything more or less has a very well documented through line. And obviously, as we've gotten to the 20th century, and
Mhm.
it's a lot easier compared to like I don't know, trying to figure out Rome. It's like okay, we have some archive, but some stuff got lost, and do we really want
Yeah.
to trust this source because he might have had an agenda over this guy and blah 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 blah. So
Mhm.
yeah, I think let's start there. I think that's
Yeah.
probably why we have such a focus on these contradictions. But Matthew, I'll toss it to you. What do you think
Yeah.
about
I mean,
why
I
we
do
feel
see
this
what you
way?
mean in the sense of, like I was saying with visions, right? There's this real world. It's not that we're familiar with. That's in our brain, in my brain. That it's grounded in, right? This story. We'll get to the example, and I mentioned it off the top. The story of Caleb Dume.
Mhm,
With Depabalaba over 66, and the story of how he goes into hiding and encounters these other clones and comes under the wing of somebody and encounters these other clones that uh or we see a story about other clones of resisting order 66 and different things. And then we see uh on screen this entirely other thing.
mhm,
Like, wait, what? Now, of course, that was what, 2021 or something. And so things have changed. It's 2025. We've 4 years later in kind of our this new Disney canon. But yeah, I can see need for things to line up. But I think maybe I wonder if it's more so a sense of, at least for those of us who read the comic off the shelf when it came out. It was like I was there. I was an OG. I was invested in this comic from day one. Literally picked it up on the Wednesday, read the thing, and so yeah, I know the story. I know what happens. So there's, if there is a religious parallel, maybe it's more wanting to be an authority, and then you see it on screen that the authority gets taken away, or that investment that we had in that story, uh, yeah, kind of feels a little cheapened in that sense. And I'm saying this not to say that that's necessarily right. I'm just saying this might be what the feeling is and what I remember the feeling being. You know what, this, because it's the same thing when a paper story is validated, if you will, on a screen. We say, oh yeah, it rewards the fans investment in this, right?
mhm.
Similar to what we were saying about the jump from animation to live action. Well, that's again a clear, we used to use the term discipline of continuity. But yeah, it's kind of both. I want to say, in terms of our investment in kind of this identity of, like, what's the percentage of Star Wars fans who read the comics every Wednesday? It's not nothing, but it's also not the majority, probably not.
Oh, definitely not.
It's enough for Marvel to keep churning them out, apparently, in Dark Horse. But um, yeah, there. My point there is that we're this kind of niche select group. There's something fun and cool about being the minority, and now it felt like we're the embattled minority. And so that's why we're like, okay, the one of the things, we'll get into the actual examples again, but that also to say, but they're to say, you brought up the Bible example, and that's I mean, there's the 18th, 19th century into our present day is very limited, very specific community that feels this need for everything to be coherent and consistent, and they bend over backwards to deal with the in the Bible, and they deal with the continuity differences, and or they aren't even taught them, like they sweep them under the rug. The gospel accounts, the three gospel accounts that are called the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, is the belief that it started with Mark, and then it was Matthew and Luke. Whoever wrote them kind of spun it out. There's the cat. There we go. uh, the interesting thing you mentioned there is, can we trust the source that has an agenda? Well, this is the interesting thing between a history and a mythology, is that dichotomy didn't exist until the 19th century, and then that
Right.
sharp literalist clapback was to say, "Oh no, this isn't just a mythology; it's a history." In terms of the Bible, and so you
Actually, I
know,
was talking more about the Roman emperors and how there's this
yeah,
one Roman guy who's like, he wrote all the emperor's history up to, I think, Nero. But there's like,
yeah.
do we really want to trust this guy? Because how much of him is just trying to make Augustus look like he's the greatest thing ever and make everyone else
Well,
look terrible by
exactly.
comparison?
But that's the thing, is that was what history was
Hmm.
in that guy's time. I mean, a few centuries later, you have Constantine, you have Eusebius of Caesarea writing his history,
Hmm.
and it's all about making Constantine's conversion look like the best thing ever, right? Which, now we can debate that, but that was his historical thesis.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, when we look at Star Wars, it I mean, again, we'll get into this, but the differences in details. So here's the Matthew, Mark, and Luke in the Gospels. That's a great example, because
Hmm.
the differences in details might contradict, because they have different emphases in different
Hmm.
messages that they're trying to say,
Hmm.
that don't necessarily contradict, but they're different, right? One is written to a Jewish community, one is written to a Gentile community, one is just trying to speed things along, right? Different things. Kind of go to same with Nemec, right? Nemec is right to rally the troops, even if he's factually not entirely accurate. So yeah, it's weird. It's this weird imposition of all that onto something that is completely fictional, and
Uh,
that's the wild thing. Yeah.
well, I mean, you bring that up, and it's like, well, let's look at the example we talked about, Kanan and
Mhm.
Bad Batch.
Yeah.
It contradicts because the Bad Batch wasn't in the comic, but
Mhm.
everything else more or less plays out the same way.
More or
Master
less.
Chief
Yeah.
Balaba is Kanan's master. That didn't change,
Mhm.
although I think that was established in Rebels. I think it's even on the same planet
Yeah. I
of
think
where
so.
they happen, and I think even the credits, the commander is the same person as in the comics, although he had green armor instead of red armor.
Yeah. Well, even then, I shrug. Like, I don't care anymore. That's great.
And it's sort of like, well, they're telling the same, more or less same story. The only difference is
Yeah.
obviously green armor instead of red armor, and the Bad Batch are there.
Mhm.
It's sort
Yeah.
of the same with the Ahsoka thing, although I kind of understand because people weren't happy about kind of ignoring there's a gay character in there as well.
Yeah.
I still hate the fact that they want to try and make it that Bail Organa contacted Ahsoka twice. I still think that's such a dumb retcon. It's just a different interpretation of the same story, and maybe the armor is different for the Inquisitor.
Exactly.
Um, but still same story. Ahsoka's on the farm. There's a person there. I thought maybe it was a girl instead of a guy. I don't remember.
Mhm.
And Inquisitor attacks, and Bail said, "Hey, want to join the rebellion?" Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Same story, more or less.
Mhm.
And that's something that I think Star Wars fans, especially younger Star Wars fans who are just dealing with these contradictions, are um eh, really missing the forest from the trees because
Yeah.
we used to have back in the old days entire contradictions that just like you can't reconcile anymore. You read the original Thrawn trilogy from the '90s. Thrawn's talking about like, oh, like yes, the Clone Wars, when the Clone Masters sent out the clones to attack the Republic, blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like you're like, actually, the clones are gonna be good guys, kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And oh yeah,
Yeah.
and Jedi, and or like you read like now you're like, oh yes, my father was a Jedi, and his father's father was a Jedi, and his father's father's father was a Jedi,
They're
and then
Orthodox Jedi, just not Catholic Jedi. I'm just kidding.
it's like you're like, actually no, Jedi are celibate. No,
Mhm.
they're not allowed to make babies. I say
Yeah.
so. Um, right. So it's like,
Yeah.
well, there goes all that lore. Down the
Yeah.
toilet.
People are upset about that, right?
Yeah, on forums, yeah, probably.
Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know what the wider. I mean, yeah, probably, yeah.
Mhm.
Back in the day, like, oh, yeah, well, yep, there goes all that. There goes our thoughts on the Clone Wars for the last decade.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's like you have that kind of contradiction, and then again, you kind of have what you were talking about, where it's like more or less the same story, just kind of for a little bit of a different audience, and some of the details are
Mhm.
the same. Speaking of fictional Bibles here. Good
Mhm.
one. Even
Yeah.
Tolkien has contradictions, even though he was one dude writing things. Well, to be fair, dying before you finish the stories doesn't help.
Well,
Ain't true. He never did finish the Silmarillion. I mean, he kept changing the origin of the dwarves like 5 different times.
Right.
He even George Lucas The Hobbit special editions where he had to change the Gollum scene because like, oh wait, this doesn't match with Lord of the Rings anymore. Well, I gotta change that. Because the original Hobbit was very different when the Gollum scene came, where Gollum was like, "Oh yeah, here, take the ring. Goodbye, have fun. I'm just a cute little weird thingy." Compared to like, "No, you stole it. I will kill you,
Yeah.
Baggins." To match with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So there's that. Um, you know, I feel maybe this is my hot take about why we have these conversations when these conversations come up.
Mhm.
Although maybe this is just also online discourse, and probably a little bit of it is. But
Yeah.
if all we ever talk about, if all the story is talking about is the contradiction and not
Mhm.
the story it's trying to tell,
Yeah.
that's just one of two things to me. Either one, and maybe both. I think both are probably somewhat true
Mhm.
to some extent. The internet just has very bad priorities, which I'm not, which I totally believe in.
Mhm.
Or the story he's trying to tell either is just not resonating enough for those contradictions to be just ignored or be
Mm.
like maybe just part of the discussion, but it's like, oh, overall, I really like this. Um,
Yeah.
it's like, I think Bad Batch is a good example of like, oh, overall, I thought the story was really good, just that one thing. 'Cause that's what I
Mhm.
remember, where it's like, yeah, people talked about the contradiction, but like, there's also a lot of other stuff to talk about, like like Saw Gerrera, Tarkin was in it. Um,
Coruscant
Crosshair,
Guards.
of course, not guard Crosshair betraying the Bad Batch, becoming the
Yeah.
villain.
Mhm.
Omega, I think people
Mhm.
like, so, um, when those two stories contradicted,
Mhm.
you know, uh, I feel like the story on its own was still pretty strong to not really warrant uh complaints, or at least not warrant that just being the entire discussion.
Yeah.
And another example of that, where I guess the story was strong enough to like be really cool, is Cobb Vanth showing up in um Mando season 2, the
Mhm.
premiere, which is still one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
The Marshal,
Mhm.
one of my favorite episodes. Where yeah, I get to a little bit of contradiction of like he got more along with the Tuscans in the book, where he's not a fan in the movie. I mean, not in the show,
Yeah.
but most people I remember just were like, "Oh my god, this is like the best premiere ever."
Mhm.
Ah, I love it. So,
And people
I
who
do
hadn't
think
read
that,
the Aftermath trilogy, right?
well, that too. But the people who
Mhm.
did write the Aftermath trilogy
Yeah.
probably also weren't
True.
that bothered by it. So, that I do think that just showed the strength of
Mhm.
that story. And you talk
Mhm.
now for a little bit because I'm going to drink some water.
There we go. Good call. So, yeah, I mean, a number of things. I do want to say, it's the type of critique that we make, right? You think, say, oh, this didn't happen that way. This clone trooper armor had this different color, whatever, or this contradicts the source book or whatever. Again, it's only getting at the surface level of something.
Mhm.
Think J.R.R. Tolkien changing the Hobbit to line up with Gollum. We can ask, well, did he do that just because of the facts, or because that's a better story and a better character, and Gollum was so well fleshed out in The Lord of the Rings that we want this, and it changes the Hobbit as well.
Mhm.
So that question, the one thing with Caleb and the Bad Batch, this is the one thing I think if people are able to name this, it's a little more legitimate that in the comic it's his story.
That's true.
And I'm going to use a word, and I'm going to get don't cancel me for it, please, folks. But I mean, it's his story. He's the main character there. I'm going to hesitatingly use the word. I'm going to put it back into its context, but I'm going to borrow it from discourse. His story then just gets appropriated into the Bad Batch's story. Now, it's not appropriation in the sense of here's an ethnicity and a culture that's just being used to serve a plot point or whatever.
Mhm.
But it does kind of weaken. It felt like it weakened that moment for Caleb in that, it now only serves the Bad Batch's story. And now here's the thing. What we do with that is we say, well, the comic is still there. Still
That's what I
read the
always say.
comic.
I have to say.
It's still, doesn't actually deny the events of the comic. And I mean, the other thing we do, and this is maybe a question we can go into, is what do we do? It is true that paper and screen have their own lanes a little bit. And nowadays, I mean, this is what we've gone back and forth with. Even when we were talking about Tractor Beam,
Mhm.
the paper stories that stay in their own lane are the best, the more original ones. Even Bad Batch Sanctuary, the lane it's in this year where we don't have anything on screen, right?
And Bad Batch is probably done. So
And Bad Batch is done. So that's another thing, is that things that paper stories that come out after the screen stories are also tend to be more successful. So like apparently Acolyte Wayseeker is really great too. So
I mean, yeah, I mean, this was when the Kanan comic came back in the day, where I feel like they were gonna go a little bit more interplay, because that came out the year of Rebel season 1.
yeah,
I think it
like
was even during.
2015, 2016.
Yeah,
I
I think it was.
remember being in Edmonton reading it. So
I think I remember it being, yeah, during Rebels. I thought it was during
Mhm.
season 1 or 2. I don't remember. Um,
Mhm.
Definitely stuff already had happened by that
Yeah,
point, and the New Dawn,
2015.
and New Dawn had already happened too.
Mhm.
You know,
Right.
we kind of don't do that anymore. I mean, that is something. I mean, you brought it up, and that's something I've always kind of wondered, like, what is it about? You still have the book, you
Yeah.
still have the comic, right? It's not like Lucasfilm's coming into your house or
It's true.
declaring Aftermath
It's literally
canon
over
comic
there.
not
I could go
canon.
find it.
I
It's
mean,
I'm pointing at it. Not
sure,
not
sometimes
literally.
there are
It's my long
things that are.
box is over there. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, sure, sometimes it's hard to find some of the older stuff, but right now
Mhm.
it's like, no, I can always find Aftermath, or I can always find the Kanan comic somewhere.
Yeah.
I have it with me, right? I think I have the Kanan comic somewhere in my
Yeah.
house. So I'm like, well, that story still exists. It's still
Mhm.
there. What's the problem? I kind
Mhm.
of like,
Yeah.
like, even with the Aftermath stuff, like, yes, that comic does greatly kind of not contradict pretty much a lot of Ray Sloan
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I'm sorry, I've tried. It's almost irreconcilable at
The
that point.
Alex Segura, the Battle of
Yeah,
Jakku. Yeah.
to the point where, like, the way I gotta make it work in my head
Mhm.
is the Luke stuff happens more or less the same, but to me, the true version of events. I hate being like that, but I kind of feel like
Yeah.
I have to be. Is the novel? Is the Ray
Hmm.
Sloan storyline?
I mean,
The
maybe it's a
novel.
similar kind of thing about appropriation. I gotta find a better word for that. Sorry.
I don't know.
You know what I mean, though.
It's the only word I can think of as well at the moment.
Mhm.
Where it's like, well, yeah, where it's like, the Ray Sloan stuff. Like, well, this isn't matching. This isn't even like recreating scenes from the book. It's just making up new
Mhm.
stuff, and like, not even in a way where it's like you can fit it in with some of the stuff in the book as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
there's a whole video by our good friend Dan about this, and how it doesn't really line up with Ray Sloan's story. Doesn't line up at all with
Mm.
with what's going on with Luke. Although he doesn't really like, although he did like the stuff, and I like the stuff with Luke and Adelhard, and he does too. So it's sort of like one of those weird things where it's like when
Yeah.
I read that stuff, that's fine. But it's like when the other stuff, even the kind of the Mon Mothma stuff, doesn't line up with the book. So it's like only the Luke stuff really is like the stuff where I'm like, okay, this more or less
Mhm.
is fine. But
Well, because there
I
isn't
get
much Luke in the Aftermath trilogy at all, right?
well, that too. So that's why I almost kind of wish like they didn't do the other stuff and just focused
Mm.
on Luke, like a firm focus on Luke, because he's not in the Aftermath trilogy. I already have Mon, and here's the cat again. Uh,
There you go.
Careful, girl. Yeah, but yeah, yeah, there we go.
Mhm.
Where was I going? Oh yeah, but again, my problem is, and maybe I'm just trying to understand it. Why do we act as if this
Mhm.
Bad Batch has just erased the book, or I guess
Yeah.
the comic, or the comic is erasing the book? Like,
Mhm.
really, the comic erasing the book, I don't get because, like, I'm gonna be honest with you. As much as we like to say paper canon and screen canon are two things, I do know Star Wars fans who will read books, but for some reason they don't like comics. So I don't know which
Sure.
makes more. I'm not going to make a guess.
Mhm.
There's kind of a part of me that feels like maybe books do, but that's just to me. But
I don't know.
but
Mhm.
I don't understand. Or when people talk about how Mon's speech doesn't match with Rebels, it's like go watch Rebels. It's still there. It's on Disney Plus right now. I
It's a
don't.
different speech.
It's a different speech too, but also, well, if you do believe that, it's
No,
like
I'm
again,
saying no. I'm saying the speech that's in Rebels. That's the one that Cassian says, "I've heard her speak already. I don't need to hear that one." It's two
right?
different speeches. So that one does line up fine. The only
I
thing,
mean,
but here's like the what's his face? Uh,
K2.
no, the his her assistant,
Oh, I forget the assistant's
his
name.
his voice.
Yeah, his voice is Australian or something, or
It was
American.
British. It's this weird American replaced by such a much better, more gravitas voice, and that fits the character. Gets filled out. So that's, I mean, again, well, here's maybe the question is what's the criteria for? I mean, for those of us who might find it hard. This is a good comment.
The George Lucas fairy doesn't come and remove things that are contradicted by new canon.
There we go.
You can still buy those Legends books, and those
Yeah.
George contradicted the heck out of those.
So I guess here's the thing. Here's the thing is, oh, there's still this desire for there to be a criteria to assess
Mhm.
whether or not a contradiction is worth it, basically.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm getting at here. And what's the criteria? And the thing is, people have this criteria of if it happens at all, it's not worth it.
Mhm.
But you know that if it happens at all, but it improves the story, but it's a good story, improves even the original story a bit, right?
Mhm.
So Erskine so much. If you watch what's the Rebels episode, and you think, okay, it's not this guy's with his Kermit the Frog voice, but with
Right.
sorry, whoever the actor is, but with that refined British accent. Okay, well that's a better character and a better story. So
Well, I
let's go
mean,
with
look
it.
at the K2SOs or meeting Cassian story
Yeah,
versus.
yeah. So
I mean, there
yeah.
are things about Andor that actually are contradicted. Like,
Yeah.
in the visual dictionary, Cassian was apparently born to like pro-separatist
Hmm.
parents, and clearly that's not the case. He comes from some tribe place, and
Yeah.
they said he was born on Fesk. I like that fact that they actually though insert the fact that hey, you were born on Fesk. Fesk, you were born on Fesk.
Hmm.
Um,
Although
you know
that would have been interesting, the separatist upbringing thing.
that would have been.
But
Yeah.
there's other opportunities to share it. I do think the thing is people are like with the Caleb thing, right?
Mhm.
Oh, these facts don't line up, but oh, let's not. I think yeah, that is the feeling that people that it's being doesn't that the story we read doesn't matter, and that's maybe the biggest problem is just because something doesn't line up doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Just because something does line up doesn't means it matters more. That's the thing is, no, that it is true that you know, the films happen to line up with everything else. Ideally, the films do matter more. Um, Plot beats in High Republic, there are some that matter more than others, but uh, the things that push the story forward more decisively than others. But just because something doesn't push the story forward as much doesn't mean it doesn't matter. There's the smaller novels, smaller scale novels. If you explore a character as deeply, like the Crystal Crown, the Acolyte Crystal Crown, it's a very standalone novel. It does a brilliant job of exploring, showing, like you saw the interview a few weeks ago. Yeah, sure, Yord and Jackie, they get some good time in the sun. The new characters are incredible, are brilliant, and that makes it worth the whole thing. Is okay, these new characters. So yeah, that's the thing.
It's
We want
interesting.
things to line up. It's good that's line up, and what's so impressive with High Republic is the way they told such a grand story over multiple media, multiple books and comics and whatnot. That is impressive, and it meant everything was so much deeper and richer because it was longer and bigger. This guy, they earned this moment of, oh yeah, I want to destroy all life in the galaxy and be the only one to do it. That they earned that moment, and you can only do that at the end of a 4-year saga like that. But a standalone novel, you know, uh, it doesn't have to be that big,
Right.
and it's still worthwhile. Sorry,
It's it's interesting that that's another thing that always kind of I always find kind of bizarre about our about this discussion as well. Like people always say, "Why don't you adapt the movies? Or adapt the movies?
yeah,
Adapt the books into movies? Blah blah blah
I
blah.
see
Like
that all
adapt
the time.
Bloodline into a streaming show? Blah blah blah." And I'm like, well, adaptation means you still have to make changes.
Hmm.
Not you cut things out, you change characters, you move things around. Look at Lord of
Hmm.
the Rings. They change things. Characters who said certain lines of the book say certain lines of the movie. Saruman dies in Isengard at the beginning of Return of the King instead of they cut out the whole scouring of the
Hmm.
Shire thing. Blah
Yeah,
blah 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 blah. People can't even handle Caleb Dume, Order
right.
66 in the Bad Batch. you
Mm.
know, how are they gonna handle when
Yeah,
if they adapted, I don't know, let's say Lost Stars and like this scene now is this way with this character instead of this way.
yeah.
You're gonna have so much discussion about like, well, which one is the canonical version? It is the show, is it the
Yeah.
movie? Because now uh I don't know, who the dude vomits on Leia instead of Mon Mothma? I don't know.
Thana Ray. Oh
Theta
no,
Ray vomits
no,
on
the other guy.
Leia instead of Mon
Thana's
Mothma
the
now.
woman.
Uh
Thane Kyrell.
Hello, so Star Wars sublight.
Yes.
Welcome. Sane, right? Sane. So it's like, if
Hmm.
that happens, it's like, well, they
Yeah.
wanted to make it to Leia because they thought X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
Like you're gonna just have people go like, "Well, they changed it," but it's like, but you wanted it adapted into a movie or a TV show in the first place. That's what adaptation is. It
Yeah.
involves changing things sometimes because you think it's a better. You just think you're getting something better out of it. Um, and then it's kind
X,
of
Y,
like
and
that.
Z, Joel. They're
That's
pronounced
why
lieutenants.
exactly. So that's
Ada.
why
Sorry. You
I
gotta get
always
there.
get I always get a little pondered
Hmm.
by you are
Yeah.
so these people could like they so don't like their contradictions, but they also want these things adapted.
Hmm.
Does not compute. You either accept the one canon argument where it's like we don't need to retell the story. The story's right there. You
Hmm.
have it. That's the story. Why do you need to retell it? And I'm talking about just things that are canon. Let's not even
Yeah.
talk about when we're doing Legends to canon, which is a little more
Sure.
different in my opinion. Um, like we don't need a Kylo Ren series. We have the Legacy Vader. There it is. That's the
Hmm.
story. You want more Kylo? Go read the damn comic. I'm
It's a
getting
great
mad.
comic.
It is a good comic.
Yeah.
So that's on you, unless
Yeah.
you're like secretly just someone who just wants everything on screen because you don't care. Which I do think there's a little bit of that coming through.
Yeah.
Um, Not with everybody, but I
or
do
just
think
people who don't like comics, but they want this story.
that's
You
true.
know.
Or
Sorry, keep going.
there is. I
Oh,
mean,
you're making.
maybe, or they
Okay,
do want to
you're
see
good.
it on a bigger screen because of I don't know, big screen stuff, which I find, I guess. But
Mhm.
again, it's just one of those things where it's like, especially with the people who do care about these contradictions, like where I've seen the like
Yeah,
you don't want the contradictions, which I can understand to a certain extent, but you also want this adapted. Well,
yeah.
they adapted Ahsoka. They adapted that moment from Ahsoka.
Mhm.
You can be unhappy that they might have accidentally erased a gay character. Fair enough. That's fair. But that's what they did. They adapted that
Mhm.
final moment in Ahsoka, those scenes from the book.
Yeah.
The Padme funeral, the Bale scene, the Inquisitor scene.
Mhm.
That's what they did. That's called an adaptation, but
Yeah.
you can't handle that because it then contradicts the novel. Um, and that's just a few scenes.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. My brain hurts. Well, I don't
Yeah.
get this. My brain. I don't get these people. Sometimes it's the
Mhm.
contradictions of themselves that bother me. Look into your soul. Okay, I'm gonna take another sip of water. You talk.
Yes. I mean, we're all contradictory. That's
Oh
also true.
yeah, that's human beings.
Um,
Just kidding.
you know, but
Mhm.
where was I going with this? Um, shoot, no, I
Mhm.
forgot.
Right.
What was I going to say, Joel? Tell me what I was
Um,
going to say.
Well, I'll keep going for a second because I guess we can kind of
Sure.
get into another thing that I'm kind of curious about, and whether or not if contradictions and recontextualizations are the same
Yeah.
thing or different thing, which I did put in the
I
notes.
I do remember what I was going to say.
Okay, you do that,
We
and I'll get
get
to the next one.
I see all the time on I mean Facebook groups. Like I wish High Republic would be made into an animated show. Wish High Republic would be made into a show. And like
Watch
it's
Young Jedi
so
Adventures. Hey,
well, but the actual story and it's so great as it is. That's the thing. In the medium,
mhm,
that story was crafted for the different media
mhm,
that it's in. Right. Uh, that's why you have to make changes with an adaptation, because
right,
some things simply don't work.
mhm,
You can do things, you can get into people's heads more. I do think one thing I will say is maybe one of the maybe the feelings again when we see something adapted like that.
mhm,
I did have this funny thing where when people would say, "Oh, I want to know," this is back when we thought this was one big happy integrated canon.
mhm,
I want to see how Cassian and K2 meet. That would be a cool story to tell, as if they were making it up themselves, right? As if
right,
they were just completely unaware of the comic. And I guess okay, ignorance is ignorance, whatever. But I'm like, at least acknowledge the thing is there.
mhm.
It exists. And maybe that's part of the feeling is that just
Sometimes
acknowledging
people
that
don't know. I mean, we'll say sometimes people really
yeah,
do don't know about it.
yeah.
Like, I
It's
was
a
having
one
a
shot, so whatever.
or here's a great example of this.
Mhm, mhm.
I was on a Reddit forum a couple days ago. I was just kind of looking up stuff, and like somebody had a bunch of questions about like the First Order, like where'd they come from?
Yeah.
Why didn't the Republic do anything? All this sort of things. And then I gave them the answers to all their questions, and they were like, "Oh, okay. See, I just watched the movies, and the movies
Yeah.
didn't tell me any of that." But it's like, well, you can see,
Which
you go to Aftermath. Now, look,
mhm.
I understand if the exposition of the sequels is lacking. I get that. I
Yeah.
actually agree with that complaint. Um, but the answers are there.
Yeah.
The First Order does make sense in the context of the universe. Should you have to have read all these things? Probably not. I do agree there probably should have
Mhm.
been a better,
Yeah.
little bit more, just kind of not even like massive exposition, just like a little bit more like, okay, this is the First Order, this is the Republic, this is the Resistance. This is how they all
I mean, that's
kind of.
what a crawl is good for,
That's what the crawl's good for. That's what
right?
like the Tarkin boardroom scene is for. Like I feel
Exactly.
like the Snoke the first scene with Snoke and Kylo could have just been like just a few more sentences, just kind of saying like,
Mhm.
okay, the New Republic and the First Order are kind of at a cold war. The Resistance is being funded by them. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah blah. A little bit more of that. Just like how Tarkin seems like we dissolve the Imperial Senate.
Yeah. So
Just a little bit.
perfect.
Just a little bit of that. I get that,
Mhm.
but the answers are there. The the
Mhm.
the answers are there, and again,
Mhm.
Is that fair? Again, probably not. But
Mhm.
then I guess to kind of go back around to all this, it's like, you know, people then will ask, well, I wish Aftermath would just get adapted or become a TV show. Just do
Yeah.
Aftermath. Just do that. Just do the Battle of Jakku. I remember one guy I used to listen to saying like he thought the Thrawn, this whole Mandoverse thing, was going to lead to the Battle of Jakku, and I'm like, no, we have the Battle of Jakku. It's in the Aftermath books, and they're not going to adapt that into a TV show.
Wrong time. They don't know that. They also just don't know the timeline. Then
Yeah, that too. So it's like
few
wrong
years
thing. That's
after the Battle of Jakku.
well, yeah, but they didn't know that as well. So it's like
Yeah.
just do that. Like
I mean,
no,
people just not knowing things is okay.
I mean that's
People will
fair.
find out whatever. I mean, that's the thing with it. I mean, it's three novels, three adult novels. I mean, that's the thing. That's what Wikipedia is great for, also. By the way, you know,
I mean, Tony
they
Gilroy
have
used it for
everything.
that's how he got the
Yeah,
Tarkin massacre.
yeah. So, yeah.
Uh, sorry, did I? Were you gonna say
No, no,
something?
no. Go ahead.
No, I was wondering if you were gonna say okay. But no, but yeah, it's. I'm not against adapt. I'm not even against. I mean,
Mhm.
if it's gonna cause a fuss, maybe I'll be annoyed by it. But it's like I'm not even against
Mhm.
doing those little book adaptations of little moments from the books and comics. Quite frankly, I
Yeah,
mean, no one complained about not Lost Stars, about shoot, Dark Disciples. The ending of Dark Disciples being adapted, more or
yeah.
less. I mean, I
Although
don't know.
they they changed that, knowing that they'd have to reconcile with it, right? The same thing with Orn Frita. Like, I know that came up,
Oh,
right?
that's true. Although he did, the next moment they said Orpheus is okay in the next episode, so it's
Yeah,
like okay. And even then,
yeah.
Dark Disciples, you could argue it's like, well, the book is more from Quinlan's perspective, and he bolts out, whereas
Mhm.
as the anime shows from Asaja's, and when like he leaves, like you have to imagine like, okay, he
True.
leaves, and that's when you turn to the next chapter. But then from
Mhm.
Asaj's point of view, it's like, okay, now you're gonna get from Mother Talzin's voice of like,
Mhm.
hey, we can wake up and can't see Quinlan anymore. It's like, okay, so
Yeah.
it's not that I don't even think it's a contradiction. I just think it's sort of like
Mhm.
that I'm considering more of a certain point of view. Um,
Yeah. And that's a
you
big
know,
part of all this, right? Is
right.
it's fiction, and therefore fiction is always written from a point of view. That's what my point about mythology and history. You know, the 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 Eusebius of Rome has a point of view. He's telling the story from a point of view. Uh, all even I mean that's the thing. Even the way news. I mean, we're seeing it now. Unfortunately, journalists, news, it's always written from a point of view. Even when they are math meeting standards, they're deciding which stories to tell. Right. That's still a bias. Is bias a bad thing or not? Is the question there. And so, not necessarily. And
Funny
here's how we
enough,
know. Well, here's
uh
how we know bias.
mhm,
Asajj telling her own story,
mhm.
coming back. Is it a good story? Is
I
it
liked it.
meaningful? The answer is yes, right? Dark Disciple, beautiful, brilliant, uh, tragic, yes. But then she comes back and it's amazing. So,
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's. I guess the question. I mean, it's the way they get like, why are we contradicting, or why is this thing being contradicted? It's
mhm.
like, if you're doing it just out of sheer malice, which I don't
Sure.
think anyone ever has,
No.
sure. And in George's case, it's just more like, well, I don't even consider that canon anyway, so I'm just gonna do my
Mhm.
own. This is what the prequels are to me.
Yeah.
So he was just doing his own thing. In reality,
Mhm. Yeah. And Daisy brings up another more examples. Unreliable narrators
that's it.
um,
Too.
is
Um,
is a purposeful thing. The thing Dooku Jedi lost. The unreliable narrators. Um, yeah. So and here's Chris coming in hot on screen. Yeah, I mean, Dark Disciple felt really huge in a book, and it's true, it did. And now, of course, part of that is because it was multiple Clone Wars arcs
that's the
that they
only
put
reason
in
it
a
got
book.
to because like they didn't think Clone Wars were gonna come back.
Yeah, so it would have been. I mean, it would have been Clone Wars arcs, and then they probably would have even went to more of an effort. I mean, they might have it might have been even easier to stomach if it was actually made into Clone Wars arc, I mean, the OG, Dathomir, still talking with Dathomir. Maul gets sliced in half. Gets Obi-Wan chucks him down the pipe, down the plasma tube thing, whatever it is. He's gone. He's dead. For all we know. Is that a retcon that he comes back? That he turns out he was crawling around, lost his mind, half gone.
I mean, definitely
with a bunch of sputterings.
Actually, that's a great point because you actually get into what I think the difference between contradiction and recontextualization is. And here's the big thing for me, and maybe I'm wrong, but this is the big thing for me. Contradictions do not acknowledge that there's a different point of view out there. Contradictions just straight up just like steamroll over it. Like in a kind of a harsh sense. Recontextualization or retcons acknowledge the previous information, but then say it's wrong. And here's the OG example: Vader. Luke says to Vader in Empire Strikes Back, he told me enough. He told me you killed him. You're talking about Obi-Wan. And let me go back. Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. He told me enough. He told me you killed him. No, I am your father. Dun, 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 dun. No,
impossible.
No. But Luke is acknowledging the previous information from A New Hope. He is acknowledging that yes, Obi-Wan told Luke that Vader killed your father. In the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan is like, Darth Maul alive. Like, everyone is shocked that Maul is alive. Everyone who thought he was dead, if Maul just showed up and nothing was acknowledged, that's a contradiction. Because we're not acknowledging that Maul died. If we acknowledge that Maul's dead, then yes, that is recontextualizing that story. It is the same with Dark Disciples to Bad Batch to the Tales of. We acknowledged that to most of the world, Asajj Ventress died during the Clone Wars, or at least the people who thought she was dead, right? Like the Bad Batch thought she was dead. Obi-Wan and Quinlan think she's dead, but we're recontextualizing to say no, she's alive. It's not a contradiction because we are acknowledging previous information. And that's a big difference, which in some ways why, again, the K2 thing is super interesting because we kind of are acknowledging the fact that, yes, there's a comic out there, and we're going to just say, oh, wait, no, that was actually a secret report that we just put in the files for official reasons. So, again, that's not a contradiction that much.
I will say,
one more thing. Even the stuff people don't like Rey being a Palpatine and Snoke clones, that's not a contradiction. That's a recontextualization because, again, we acknowledge that our characters once thought Snoke was a true human being, and Palpatine's like, no, I made Snoke. And then with Kylo, again, Kylo's like, I actually did think you were a nobody from time to time, but then I found out you're not a nobody.
Or he was lying.
No, I think he did think he was. I did think Kylo thinks that for a hot second she was no one, and then Palpatine's like, no, she's actually like my clone, biological daughter.
Is that the novelization, or is that somewhere else?
No, that's in the movie because I think Kylo actually does legit think that he's a nobody. So he does find that out from Palpatine when Kylo goes to Palpatine. Who is she? And Palpatine's got that evil secret. So it's at the beginning of the movie. So again, we are acknowledging previous information and then telling you actually, well, there's more to it. Sort of the same thing with Leia being the twin sister.
Sure. This gets me to almost a solution, almost a way forward. At least I can think of the Caleb one and the Ahsoka one. It's not a literal recognition of the comic when it comes to Caleb, but the fact that we see him, and where we see him is Order 66, which is at the heart of that comic, at least the first arc. That's in a way a recognition of the comic in this kind of spiritual sense.
And Deba's there, and it's the same planet.
And Deba's there, same planet, everything. And so it's like, I mean, it's kind of, I'm kind of reverse engineering what I talk about all the time. Funny, I have Harvey
Mhm.
Tolibau's card here from San Diego. I need to
Sorry.
email him. Chris, you're watching this. I got to email Harvey Tolibau. And, the face crack
Mhm.
from Kenobi, beautifully drawn by Harvey, by the way. That, again, the whole Anakin versus Vader. It's almost that felt like a real acknowledgement to me of the Kieran Gillen comic. Right? No, it's not. That's not a contradiction of any kind. It's both. Yeah, the good old face crack. It's not a contradiction of any kind. It's but I think with Caleb, there's this almost a recognition there, and with Ahsoka, the end of that novel is Bail, and so what do we see? We see Bail, right? That it's the same guy who contacts her. It's just truncated story. So that Cobb
Captions, I
Vanth,
call it. I call
yeah,
it.
and adaptation is a great way of maybe putting it. Taking these ideas from paper and just showing maybe a different perspective on them. But then, if you want the fuller story, here's this moment of Caleb in Order 66, and in this version, the Bad Batch are there. You want the fuller story of his experiences and feelings. It's a great story. Read the comic book; it's there. If you want more about what Cobb Vanth is up to, and that might come out. I don't know. I still have this fun theory that that's gonna come to the fore with Rada and all that.
That'd be fun. I would
That'd
say
be
that.
amazing. I don't think it will. I don't know, but you know what? It might even be headcanon that it is. So
He grew up fast after Endor's and from baby to maybe muscle pound.
you don't know how fast
That's true. That's true.
unless may not, and the Hutlet in Convanth in the aftermath might not be Rada. That maybe something similar is trying to happen. I could be wrong. He's fighting in a gladiator ring, so probably not. But it's fun. Just these ideas. The idea of Jabba's heir is I mean, Boba Fett kind of played with it too. So again, there's lots of these things that make their way from paper that really validate our investment in these paper stories, even if they don't exactly represent them, and adapt them if they adapt them.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get so annoyed when people say, "Oh, Dave Filoni is ignoring the books and comics to some extent," because you have to still engage with the material in order to adapt it, right? So, like, now the Ahsoka thing is a little bit interesting because I would not be surprised if what was going on is, E.K. Johnson's given like a skeleton of some basic things Dave probably had planned for Ahsoka, but this was the early years. We had no idea what was going to go on with animation. We didn't know what was going on with Ahsoka, so it's like, here you go, write a book about it. Here's kind of my basic outline. There's even some stuff from Siege of Mandalore that's in there too, which I don't think even fits anymore. And then obviously
Right,
when Dave's
the
got,
mall duel and all that. Yeah,
and then when finally Dave's like, okay, finally I actually get to do this stuff. Hooray! I get to actually tell my version of the events that I wanted to tell, especially with Siege of Mandalore. Go all out, and then with this little moment from Tale of the Jedi. Okay, more or less, I wanted to show the moment of Ahsoka, which was Padme, and in Padme's funeral and the Bail moment. Cool. The Bad Batch thing is a little more weird, because I don't know what really was the thinking behind that. I was because I kind of doubt he was thinking Bad Batch at the time. It's like, but obviously again, it's still more or less the same story, right? Like, I guess maybe he was like, hey, I can connect my two shows, Rebels and Bad Batch, together.
That seems to be the likelihood of that. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, we did see Little Hera even in later that same season with the Twilight arc, and
I mean that definitely connects well, though.
yeah. Anyway, but my point is like go back to Mandoverse for a second. Hux is in the Shadow Council.
Brendel
Hux. And I think they even call him Brendel Hux.
Yeah.
Or they Commandant Hux. which we
And
know
he's a
was
bubbling idiot, like he is in the
yeah.
novels.
So they have to have engaged with the aftermath story of okay,
Mhm,
he's out there, he's definitely a representative of an imperial faction.
mhm.
Obviously, like Ray Sloan, like people say, oh, he's ignoring Ray Sloan. It's like, are they, or they just like they just want to maybe use a more familiar character, but that doesn't mean they don't know that she doesn't exist. It's
Mhm.
just like you had to have engaged with that material of Hux and Sloan are out there
Yeah.
doing first order, proto first order stuff to bring in Hux to the Shadow Council.
Mhm.
Maybe they just wanted to use Hux instead as a more familiar face because the
Or
sequels
name, at
or
least.
name. But that doesn't mean they are ignoring Sloan
Yeah.
or don't acknowledge her existence. It just means that a little bit more logistic thing. But I think, yeah, I mean, you can always just say, well, she's busy running the proto first order. Hux is there to be on the council and
Yeah.
represent their interest. Um,
Or maybe they're sexist and racist.
Dude, yeah, nah,
That'd be
maybe.
interesting. I
It's
mean, yeah,
Well, he's the
Gideon's there.
leader, so,
No, no,
alright,
I mean,
oh, no,
no,
wait, there were women
maybe
on
the
the
Shadow
council.
Camp.
No,
There
there
were?
was
Okay.
yeah, there was 3.
Okay.
There was, like, some, definitely, like, there was, like, one with, like, really white hair and, like, one with, like, an Asian, woman
Sure. Never
actress.
mind.
So there were women there. There were at
But
least
it would be
2.
interesting if the Shadow Council, if some Imperial thing actually went there, but
Some things do, it depends on the story.
mhm. Yeah.
I mean, if you wanna be, like, really weird and, like, maybe, like, the last thing we can talk about,
Mhm.
contradictions in how things are depicted.
Yes.
Because this is where things get now this is where things really depend on author to author. This isn't even like stories getting contradicted. This is just how like things get depicted in universe. So like
Yeah.
there are certain stories that really more hammer home, like the Empire is more sexist and xenophobic. Other stories don't go there. Some of them just tend to be like, we want women in both the good guys and bad guys
Mhm.
factions because why not? And they don't really play with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Interesting.
we can call how Thrawn gets depicted a contradiction, but maybe. I guess it's a
Mm,
little bit of a contradiction of like
yeah.
Thrawn's willing to harm civilians and has a bitter hatred of Ezra versus, you
Mhm.
know, kind of Thrawn who's a little bit more nicer to his fellow Chiss and kind of likes Eli Vanto and doesn't really want to do civilian casualties
Mhm.
in the books. I guess that's a contradiction. Or
Yeah.
even sometimes
Sorry.
it's
Go ahead.
like and sorry, one more thing, and
Yeah.
then or like how some stories will say the Empire had 300 Star Destroyers in the entire Navy, and then other books will say the Empire had 20 million Star Destroyers in the Navy. There will be things like that,
Yeah.
and then, then apparently Omega's age is wrong in the Bad Batch book, according to one person I talked to, which isn't a big deal. Just like, oh, okay, someone must have put
Mhm.
the wrong number in. But it's those are I mean, at that point we're getting to like the really nitpicky
Yeah.
contradictions. Or finally, one more. I'm so sorry. Or
Mhm.
like, how big is the First Order?
That I was gonna bring up. Yeah.
Is the First Order really the size of the Empire, which kind of maybe Last Jedi and some of the material around there go with,
Mhm.
or is it is it smaller than the Empire, very small, like,
Mhm.
that's why they can't control the whole galaxy, but they're still kind of technologically advanced, so they're a threat, but they're not that massive in terms of,
Mhm.
like, sheer numbers. And that kind of varies from book to book, author to author, and kind of even
And
era to
film to
era,
film. Film to
film to
film.
film too, to some extent as
Yeah.
well, so
I'll admit that one confused me going from the Last Jedi. Well, First Order will control all the major star systems to, oh, they're just at Exegol and that's it.
you
Um,
can reconcile it,
you
but
can.
yeah, with other
Well,
stuff.
you can reconcile saying Palpatine pulled everyone back to Exegol,
That's
and
true.
that fleet was that citizens fleet, whatever, was just big enough to take care of things. That I think when it comes to, for example, with Thrawn, and even the way the Empire is depicted in Thrawn, like in the first canon Thrawn novel, I honestly, it was like, is this Star Trek? Is this the Federation? Like first contact protocols? What's happening here? You know, they're they have exploration arms. Like what's going on? And yeah, kind of this more benevolent. Even Yularen when he shows up, he's like, yeah, kind of this grizzled, experienced military guy, but there's this camaraderie between him and Thrawn, and
Mhm.
giving Vanto a hard time for actually sleeping. And I remember that moment where it's like Vento asks Thrawn, how do you have time for all this? He's like, I don't sleep as much as you do. And Yolar's like, yeah, you'll when you progress, you'll learn that. You'll whatever. Like there's this kind of banter there versus, of course, what we see in Rebels, and what we know about Yularen, right? He's kind of brutal, and
Andor,
there's
don't forget Andor. He's
and Andor,
gonna crack down, ready to crack down on these
and just everything with the ISB. So, but that all goes back to what we're saying about about what was it? Interpretation.
Yeah, interpretation.
But it goes back to what we're saying about perspective, and not so much unreliable narrators, but Zahn wanted to situate Thrawn, the Empire, in Thrawn's point of view, in Thrawn's perspective, and he ends up doing all right for himself. So must be doing something good. Even like Palpatine in those novels isn't really a villain. He's just, we were like, oh, yeah, it's great. He's giving Thrawn this opportunity to do his thing. That's fine. Vader is not a villain. He's doing his thing, right? Even because we get Anakin in alliances, right? The
you get a little bit of the Death Star though by the end. With
but then that's just a little difference of opinion. With Thrawn, I was like, I don't think this is the best idea. Right. But it's not like this terrible menacing thing. Even like in a way, the real villains are the rebels. those books a little bit, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, that goes back to. It's so thorough that it feels like a contradiction. Like, are these two different characters? But this kind of brings it back. It's helpful to say, let's be more nuanced about all this. And this is just kind of this whole conversation. Let's be more nuanced about it. Let's be more I guess profound. Let's go deeper and say, okay, these surfacey things, these surface details, even more than surface details, but character beats and whatnot. Yeah, they could be different, but that's because it's a particular story and showing a particular perspective, right? Like that's the thing with Daisy's point. Not just the narrators, the characters aren't omniscient. The characters have bias, right? In the unreliable narrator, the author is plugging in a bias for the character, right? So that's the way we can get around even the I think even the actual retcon contradictions. I think even I gotta even look at the Battle of Jakku versus the Aftermath, those ones, because frankly those ones, now it's been 10 years. This is another thing.
Well, also, how much do you remember both? And like I remember Aftermath probably a lot better than you. I don't want to accuse you of anything.
Probably true, actually.
But I probably remember Aftermath probably a little bit better than you do, because I've actually reread it a couple times.
Yeah, I only read it once 10 years ago, right?
So yeah, I can send you a video about kind of going over the contradictions if you want that, or just read the book when you have time.
Yeah.
But I'll say that that's a full-on contradiction. That is a full-on Sloane should not know certain things, and her reaction to certain things in the book are very different. Like that is true contradiction right there.
But is that a matter of what the story Alex Segura is telling versus the story Chuck Wendig is telling?
It's hard to say.
Yeah, well, that's why I want to go over it, because you're right. I don't remember from Aftermath enough.
I can send you a video, and then you can also read the Aftermath book on your own time too. But I'll go back to something. Kind of go back to the early point. Just kind of maybe at the kind of a last point, as we kind of broaden our topic a little bit, as we do. I've always said this, and I stand by it. If every author has their own interpretations of things, and I kind of have always been a believer that Star Wars, when it comes to Star Wars, everyone has their own canon. I kind of always have bought the idea of and maybe that, and that's not in terms of like how this, like, not in terms of like, oh, Luke did not do this, did not blow up the Death Star kind of a thing, but more like every Star Wars author has a different view on certain events and topics and how to proceed with them.
Hmm.
So, like, I have a feeling, regardless of how much he did think about it and how much even Ryan thought about it, JJ and Ryan,
Yeah.
they probably have a very different view of what the Knights of Ren are compared to Charles Soule. I, if they got
Yeah.
to write a Knights of Ren film or backstory, it probably would not have been what Charles Soule done. Probably would have done something completely different because they probably had a very different idea of what they might have been.
Yeah.
But Charles Soule decided to take the Knights of Ren and make them his toys. So we get the Soule Knights of Ren. Here's another interesting
Yeah.
example. I think and maybe you kind of notice this with Alex Segura's stuff, and maybe you'll notice more in the comics. Different depictions of the New Republic.
Hmm. Yeah.
How the Mandoverse kind of has made them. I mean, we're kind of getting more New Republic stuff with Ahsoka season 2, and probably a little bit
Hmm.
more with Mando.
Yeah.
But I think because we're seeing more of the New Republic in comics now, and maybe a few books that we get to see New Republic kind of do more. Like they do more, and they do
Yeah.
some good stuff. Whereas Dave and John don't. Either because of their perspective, or just because they just want to tell that particular story. Need the New Republic, they kind of useless at the moment.
Hmm.
Um, before getting to the big stuff with Thrawn. So again, there's that. So you get kind of the
Yeah.
Favaloni New Republic versus the book comic New Republic, and then Skeleton Crew in the weird middle. New Republic
Yeah.
actually gets to do something cool at the end. So John Watts the Republic. Ha 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 ha.
This guy.
Um,
This guy's awesome.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, I want to speak to that one. I mean, that's again another perspective thing.
Or one more, or
Okay. One more. Okay. Go ahead.
or Gilroy's more dark. I don't want to call it cynical, dark, more nuanced. There we go. Dark and nuanced take on the formation of the rebellion compared to probably Lucas, who was probably a bit more. These good
Hmm.
senators joined together and they fucked the empire. Yay!
Yeah.
And Lucas's own views of the prequels compared to what the books of the
Sure.
'90s were telling us. There we go. Now you can
I
talk about it.
mean, I think again the only way to go there is a real world perspective of it, right?
Hmm.
George in the 70s, he's trying to bring a story of hope and of unbridled heroism in what was a very dark and cynical time. After Vietnam and whatnot, and after Nixon and Vietnam and and everything. I guess Nixon was just happening. In
Or ending.
Korea, just ending, yeah,
Yeah.
and all that. But even with World War II in the rearview mirror,
Mhm.
whereas Andor, I mean, Gilroy is writing, with 9/11 and Bush and this
Now I think he was
this
definitely
war.
writing for Trump 1 in mind.
Yeah, Trump won. I mean,
Prequels with more 9/11 and Bush by the end. I would say.
true. Well, that's a great point too. I mean,
Especially
shoot,
Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the
people
Sith.
thought George contradicted himself. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
the prequels, the good guys are. I mean, we say the Jedi are depicted as heroic, but it is more nuanced than people were expecting, and that disappointed people because all they knew was Luke's fanciful exploration of the Jedi in the past in the original trilogy, and so to actually see them as they are,
Mhm.
that upset people, and then to see Luke in the Last Jedi be like, no, or turns out, well, he went too cynical in the other direction. I mean, that upset people too, because you look, guess what? People change in their beliefs and perspectives. And also, again, George in the 70s and early 80s is telling a different story than he is in the 90s and 2000s. Than Tony Gilroy is. I mean, he's making a different type of argument there, right? In the original trilogy is how does freedom get won back? And how come the heroic actions of a few, whereas of course the prequels are about how and the sequel trilogy is a bit about that too, right?
Mhm.
The prequels are how does democracy get given away, as lazily and with thunderous applause. unlike Nemec, but again, being over Nemec. Um, with comes to the New Republic and the Mandoverse, I mean that's a similar kind of thing. So the Mandalorian is written from is done from the perspective, shown from the perspective of Din Djarin, who believes the New Republic is a joke.
Mm-hmm.
The Battle of Jakku and Alex Segura's ongoing is written from you get Mon Mothma and Leia and Luke and Han, who at this point, even Han thinks the Republic is up to some good. And he's in. If he thinks that, what do you think? Mon and Leia have risked their lives for this thing, and they think it's so worth it that they've risked everything. And so here they are, and they're committed to being not just from the sidelines pointing out, saying, "Oh, do this, do that." They're the ones doing it. They're so committed to it. So of course, they're gonna focus on what they are doing, and of course, the struggles of it. Now they're coming up against some interesting limits to what the New Republic can do with this Fenrol sector conflict. But yeah, it's clearly we're hoping they succeed, and so I mean that's the thing is, I mean I don't know if Alex is trying to make a wider political point about what governments can do or how they need to be, kind of this aspirational point that I think Star Trek is making, but maybe that's why we're getting more New Republic stories. Is we got the Tony Gilroy Andor thing. Now maybe let's get a bit more of an aspirational. This is gonna be a weird thing. We've talked about this a few times, right? The central institution being this aspirational, upholding this aspirational ideal, you need a character like Mon Mothma with that kind of gravitas and that kind of force to really make it consistent with Star Wars. Thankfully, Mon Mothma is the one at the helm there. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I will be curious to see. Well, also, you talk about Din thinking the Republic's a joke. I think you're ignoring the fact that his whole arc is to say, well, maybe it's not.
Yeah. Well, I'm not ignoring at the beginning, right?
Okay, right. So,
well, I'll say that's a fair point in that he realizes maybe I'm wrong. Is what you're saying.
Yeah. So maybe we've gotten to that point now where it's like, okay, maybe now he will work with the Republic. And then when it comes to what we're all building up towards, I do wonder. I mean, this is where I am kind of curious about defeat of Thrawn. Is the defeat of Thrawn going to be viewed as a New Republic victory? Like, I actually something I actually am kind of curious about how they're going to handle Thrawn's inevitable defeat. That's how you got to mean, because on the one hand, we got to defeat Thrawn. That's going to happen. Probably not going to make it out of there alive. Because again, Dave really wants to do his Heir of the Empire Thrawn trilogy redux, which in that book is a New Republic victory. It's like, yay, we did it! New Republic. We had some hard time, but no, actually, it is pretty much a victory.
It's very artfully done.
Very artfully done. Yes, but it's like, but the book itself is like, Luke and Leia are like, yay, we did it! We beat Thrawn, hurrah! We defeated Sabaoth and the clones, and good times are coming.
Yeah.
But unlike Legends, which doesn't really have a grander narrative and kind of was just making it up on the fly, Canon has to deal with the fact that, yay, we did it, we beat Thrawn, hooray for us. We maybe even beat Abeloth. I don't know, whatever's gonna happen. Beat Balin, whatever. But we have to remember the Mandoverse is in between two trilogies, and eventually we're gonna go all the way to Force Awakens when the capital of the Republic about to go kablooey. Yeah. So, how much? I guess kind of. I guess it's kind of going to be like maybe the end of the High Republic. We're like, yay, we did it. We beat Martheon. We beat Thrawn. But then we kind of have to also remember, like, oh yeah, Hux is out there, and Sloane maybe working with a guy called Snoke, and it's like they're watching, and it's like, oh well, we tried. Back to the unknown regions, and we'll build up till next time. They don't know we're around. Dun 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 dun. Sure. We'll make that our first order of business.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering, and I think we got off topic at this point, so we'll make this the last part of like, will that kind of be that New Republic aspirational victory, or it'll
Yeah.
be like we won, the New Republic beat Thrawn, but also oh shoot, yeah right, there's still Imperials out there
Mhm.
biding their time.
I
Yeah,
mean, we,
likes the Emperor. Way to
we'll
quote.
have that. That'll be the case anyways, because, like you said, we know what happens.
Hmm.
There will always be this little bit of a shadow. Even now,
Hmm.
you'll watch Return of the Jedi. The you got Ewoks
Hmm.
banging on stormtrooper helmets,
Hmm.
fireworks in the sky.
Hmm.
But 30 years later, like you said at the very, very beginning, things are cycles. All this has happened before. All of it will happen again. And that's the thing. The sequel trilogy has changed Star Wars, what Star Wars is, in that way. It's made it more cyclical as opposed to what we had in from 1 to 6 is this single cycle. Now we have another cycle. So fun times.
Fun times. Okay, I think we did. I
Yep.
think we have done
There you go.
everything.
How's it
Oh,
going,
hello.
Jimmy? Welcome.
Hey,
May the
thank
force
you.
be with
Thank you,
you.
Fedor. Nice.
Yeah,
Alright, I
yeah,
think we did it. Canon contradictions. That was a good topic.
yeah. Good time to wrap things up. Great conversation as always. A good old Iron Cannon deep dive, giving me some ideas for future episodes of the Iron Cannon podcast. Why not?
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us in the comments. Some pretty decent, solid interaction down there. These comment boxes aren't going anywhere. Let us know what you thought of our conversation, what you think about the trailer streaming numbers or view numbers. What do you think about Bad Batch Sanctuary? Nemec, is Nemec right? Is he wrong? How is he right? Is he wrong? The Visions trailer, and of course, canon contradictions. How has your feeling changed? I don't really get to that, but how's your feeling changed? Your perspective changed or not since 2021, 2022, whenever. Uh, Please do let us know in the comments below, and do give this video a like and a share, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Joel, it's been great. It's been fun. Again, another classic what is Star Wars conversation. Where can they find musings such as this and more on the internet?
You can find me at GID20234 on Blue Sky, GID20234 on Blue Sky. I also run the Ion Cannon podcast, Blue Sky, which you can see on the crawl below. And of course, you can find me at the Star Wars Underworld Discord server, where I talk about all this and more, with game nights, movie nights, and all sorts of fun stuff happening. Oh, yes.
There we go. Yes, you can find me, my personal Instagram Threads, and Blue Sky MNUG1138. There you go. MNUG1138. Ion Cannon.biscuit.social, the Tractor Beam.biscuit.social, and speaking of the Tractor Beam, doing ongoing number 6, and we're going to talk a bit about the Marvel solicits. Why the heck not? Chris, if you're in there, by the way, we'll talk about that, and then right back at you this coming Monday. Next Monday, we're talking about the Bad Batch Sanctuary. We'll have it finished, I promise. So yeah, please do come back. We will review and comment on that fantastic book. We're both doing the audiobook of that, I believe. So we'll talk about Mark the Canon Legend Thompson's performance and whatnot. Please do check that out. But until then, Joel, let's blow this thing and head home.